Hello? I would like to put a question in English. Okay? My name, Bernardo Mascarenhas, representando a Fundação Carlos Alberto Vanzolini, de São Paulo. My question is, the best quality certification comes from our own clients. Therefore, the certification before ISO 9000 would not be necessary if a company, for instance, has already established its zero defect policy. What do you think about this dilemma?
Well, I think I agree with you totally that the best certification comes from your product's acceptance in the marketplace by your customers. There is no question that this is the true certification that we are all looking for. My experience is, though, that there is much to be gained by going through the ISO certification process, even if you truly believe that you already are satisfying your clients. I have found that going through the process, companies thinking that they do it all really many times learn a lot by going through the process, find areas that they can improve by using the ISO 9000 guidelines. My own company, Solar Turbines, is a subsidiary and owned by Caterpillar. I'm sure many of you know Caterpillar is a very, very dominant company in its field, commands a very, very strong market share. And when ISO 9000 first came out, also has very, very happy customers, very, 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 very satisfied customers. When ISO first came out, Caterpillar first impression was, we don't need this because you know, we're already satisfying our customers, and what can ISO 9000 do for us? And so they were reluctant in the beginning to pursue certification. Once they realized that this was here to stay and began the certification process, those same Caterpillar executives came to me and said, George, we've learned a lot by going through the process. We did find weak links, things that we weren't doing. I hope this answers your question.
And one more question from Guanajuato, León. Adelante. Good morning. I have a question for you. If automobile companies who are certified ISO 9000 and who are in the production area and the marketing department is very well geared toward good practices in the environment and is looking for ISO 14000, don't you think that there may be a little bit of too much heterogeneity? I mean, it's going to be very diverse, this training of all the people, given all these different aspects. Wouldn't it be too much?
I don't know. I think that, as I mentioned before, that these are two separate issues, the quality system and the environment. Although there may be some relationship, I think it's truly a, you know, companies can attack these independently of one another. A company can have a quality system and not be environmentally conscious, or vice versa. A company can be environmentally conscious and not have a quality system. It truly, I think it goes back to the strategy of the executive management of the company. If the company wants to have a quality system, and if the company wants to be environmentally conscious, here are two wonderful standards that you can use to help you establish these and make these part of your company culture. So no, I do not think this is too much. I think that it truly is dependent upon what are the goals of the organization and of the executive management, and do you want to be an environmentally conscious company? If you do, here's a wonderful guideline. If you want to be a quality conscious company, if you do, here's a wonderful guideline that you can use to help you.
Now we have the Blas Pascal, Argentina, Blas Pascal University in Argentina. Good afternoon. In companies that have already the ISO 9000 certification, they usually have a sort of a down curve in the months right after obtaining the certification. What do you suggest for them to maintain the competitive level right after the certification?
I agree with you. There are many examples of companies that have achieved certification, and then and it is what a great feeling it is to have accomplished certification, and then think that they are done. This is a never-ending process, and I think it's a very much of a misconception for any company to think and to communicate to its employees that, hey, we're done once we get certified. And I've seen this happen. They've accomplished a certification goal, and then they slack off a little bit. This cannot be allowed to happen. This ISO, as I have said many times, is a foundation. It is basically the minimum requirements that you now need to build on to get to higher levels of process maturity and higher levels of quality achievement. So it must be communicated to employees that this is just a basic foundation that we're now going to use to build upon, and management must lead the way, because once certification is achieved, they must now set higher goals. And let's get now to higher levels of process maturity and higher levels of quality. So management has to lead the effort.
National Autonomous University from Mexico, Coacalco. This is Hispano-American University. What minimum requirements are necessary to obtain ISO certification of an educational institution? How long does it take? How can you take the student's opinion, and how does the client participate in the definition of the standard ISO 9000? Thank you.
That's a lot of questions. We have, in the case of a university, as I mentioned in my talk, I don't want to reiterate all of those points, but really a university has the same processes that a manufacturing business has. It has contracts with its clients, its students. It designs curriculums for its students. It has mechanisms to deliver these curriculums to its students through its professors. And it also has, many times, needs to have processes in place to ensure that it gets feedback from its students when there are problems. So when you really look at the ISO standard and relate it to a university environment, it is very relative and very meaningful, I found. So really the basic minimum requirements are going through those ISO 20 elements and making sure you understand them, and making sure that you design systems and processes that apply to your university environment. I can tell you from my own personal experience, it is very applicable to a university setting, looking at the students as the customers, as I've mentioned.
Un saludo ahora para Mexicali, Baja California. Nos llaman de la Comisión Federal de Electricidad, División Baja California. Le escuchamos.
Baja California. Good morning. Our company generates, transmits, and distributes energy, electrical energy. We have different processes in each stage. What are the techniques and methods that you mostly recommend for us to identify these processes all the way down to the level of our operators?
Well, the best way to again, my approach to documenting processes is to get all the employees closest to the process to be involved in the actual documenting of the process. So the best way to get those operators involved is to get them involved in the actual writing of the procedures. They're the ones that understand the processes the best. They live those processes every day. So the best way to get their involvement is get them involved in writing the procedures. And I find this a very, very effective way of, and they also end up feeling ownership now for the process, and it's a much easier job now to implement and train when they've been involved in the creation of the documentation themselves.
Retornamos a Argentina. Participa el tercer cuerpo del ejército de Córdoba, Argentina. Adelante.
Argentina.
Buenos días.
Nos preguntamos si es factible aplicar el
We
modelo
wonder
de
whether or not it
proceso
is feasible
en una
to
institución
apply
como
this
el
model
ejército,
of
con un presupuesto
processes
reducido,
in the Army,
para
with,
lograr
which has a
calidad y
very small
excelencia
budget, in order to
que es la
achieve
defensa,
quality
para
excellence,
suficiente que
excellence in
nación,
quality
más
for their
allá de la
product,
eficiencia
and their and to satisfy their client, which is the country, which goes beyond the suppliers of and sellers of material in general.
Well, I can tell you I've not had any personal experience implementing ISO 9000 with an Army. You certainly have one big advantage because I know you have good discipline. And one of the things that ISO requires is good discipline. So that you're starting out with a framework of discipline. And also I know most armies of the world already have documented many of their practices and their rules and their regulations. So there is a foundation here to build upon, and I think it would be a very, very interesting exercise to look at the organization of an army and to implement these techniques and guidelines into the organization, the Army's organization. I believe it would benefit. I haven't really thought about it a lot, but I'm sure that it is applicable and that you could learn a lot from the process. Again, you would need your executive general's commitment that this would be something that they would want to do.
Participa ahora Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco. La formulan la pregunta de la Universidad de Guadalajara.
This is a question coming from Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco.
Buenos días.
Good morning. Dr. Zalatan, in a service company like a hotel, what do you suggest for the training department to support the implementation of these processes, because we have clients who are changing their expectations constantly?
Well, my suggestion, again, the training department plays a vital role in any ISO 9000 implementation in terms of helping provide the proper materials and guidance and training for all the employees. But it cannot start with the training department. I need to take a step back. You are a support and a very, very critical support link in the implementation process. It needs to start with the operating managers and the executive management. They have got to want this, and then use you as a resource and a supporting mechanism to help implement. So really, I don't believe you can initiate this effort. You have to really be working within the guidelines and the direction of your management, and the key is they have got to want this. Then you can then develop training materials to support the needs of the business. But the direction and the leadership must come from management. You cannot, in my opinion, initiate this.
Pasamos ahora a Cerro Azul, Veracruz.
Now, the question from Veracruz, Cerro Azul. Dr. Zalatan, how can you relate the concept of the value chain to center attention on the adequate organizational structure for ISO 9000?
Good question. We all today, we all are really trying to focus the energies of our organizations on value-added activities. The way I can relate ISO to this effort is that ISO provides a good common sense set of guidelines for activities that are truly value-adding activities for any business. So I think that the basic guidelines that ISO provides have been tested by thousands of companies throughout the world. these are value-added activities. If they were not value-added activities, I don't believe that there is any way possible that there would be the international acceptance of ISO like that has happened. So truly, here we have a wonderful opportunity to take a very simple document, less than 10 pages, of guidelines that are all value-added, that have been embraced by thousands of companies successfully, and use these as a tool to help us define those critical value-added activities that we need to implement in our businesses.
Regresamos a Río de Janeiro. La pregunta la formulan Furnas Centrais Eléctricas S.A. Río. Escuchamos.
Okay, good afternoon. Is it true that the ISO 14000 was created to stop the development of the third world countries? What's your opinion? Thank you very much.
No, my opinion is that this is not true, that the ISO 14000 movement started because of the increasing environmental awareness throughout the world, not only in industrialized countries, but in third world countries. And truly, I think this is an international movement that has not come from any one sector. There is an international environmental awareness now that is with us, and it's here to stay.
La siguiente pregunta es formulada desde el Estado de México, del Instituto Tecnológico Tlalnepantla.
Comes from Tlalnepantla, Mexico. Good morning. Doctor, the question is made by a student. ISO organization has control over the certification organizations, which it seems, because it seems like there are different ways of exporting it to different parts of the world. Does this depend on the agency that certifies?
No. All agencies have common standards and guidelines that they must work to. Agencies are made up of people, so there's always going to be differences, slight differences in the way they approach working with individual companies, but basically they have guidelines that are established by various national bodies, quality bodies throughout the world. So they have also got to be certified in their techniques in terms before they can be qualified to certify individual companies. So there are basic guidelines that all agencies must comply with, and they are pretty consistent. And I don't believe there are any real significant differences.
And now we have a call from Ensenada. What are the special considerations to implement ISO 9000 in a health organization?
I'm going to say that there are no special considerations. You would follow the same basic guidelines, identifying your customers, identifying the services you provide. Really, you need to take element by element and examine the requirements, and there's no special advice. It would be the same as if you were a electronics company or a university or a manufacturer of gas turbine engines. They are the same guidelines. We're looking at your processes and your systems.
Thank you for your excellent questions, but we have run out of time. Thank you, Mr. Zalatan. We hope that you have enjoyed participating in this video conference. We will continue transmitting programs on the latest in management techniques and systems and global competitiveness. We invite you to participate on October 10 in the next program of our Strategies for Global Competitiveness series, entitled Managing Health and Productivity, New Approaches and Technologies. We also hope you will join us on September 26 for the third program in our International Conflict Management series, entitled Effective Management of International Conflict, The Strength of Diversity. For additional information on the International Training Center's programs, please consult your participants' manuals, where you will find the dates and specific topics of this year's programs. Also, if you're interested in attending or participating in training sessions which will be offered by the ITC, please feel free to contact the center by letter, phone, or fax. On behalf of all of us who collaborate with the International Training Center, I thank you for your participation and interest in today's program. Thank you, and see you soon. you.